Starseed of Gaia, pause for a moment. Your body is not reacting. It is remembering. At this exact moment, your cellular vessel is being gently recalibrated to hold a higher coherence. I am Anya, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. This is a direct and intentional transmission from the Arcturian Council, offered to you now. You are not behind. You are not late. And you are not breaking. From here, the Arcturian frequency can be received without resistance. Starseed. The second week of February is not just a stretch of days on a calendar. It is a timed corridor in the grid, a scheduled opening in the harmonic architecture surrounding Gaia. Something beautiful is unfolding in your reality right now, but it is not beautiful in the way the mind expects. It is beautiful the way a lock turns when the key finally arrives. It is beautiful the way frozen water remembers how to move. You have been feeling it. A quiet pressure behind the heart, a strange tenderness in the nervous system, a sudden intolerance for what once felt acceptable. You may have thought you were getting emotional, getting tired, or overthinking. But what is happening is deeper. Your field is being tuned to a higher coherence, and the tuning fork is not external. It is your own original Arcturian blueprint reactivating. In this transmission, you will understand how to receive the Arcturian light codes moving through this week, how to stabilize them in your crystalline awareness, and how to translate them into real-life clarity without forcing, without spiraling, and without needing anyone else to validate what you already know. And here is the first revelation. Your system recognizes what is happening because you helped design this sequence before you entered this lifetime, not as a fantasy. As a precision plan. The Arcturians do not guess. They build in harmonics, in geometry, in timing. And when your heart called this message into your awareness, it wasn't coincidence. It wasn't an algorithm. It was resonance. The invisible law of frequency pulling you toward the next instruction encoded inside you. But there is tension here, and you can feel it. Because what awakens you also disrupts you. What returns you to truth also dissolves the masks you use to survive. And in the next minutes, I will show you why the discomfort you've been feeling is not a problem to fix. It is evidence that the transmission is working. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you will recognize the exact signs of Arcturian activation in your body, your emotions, and your reality. And you will know what to do next, step by step, without fear. The Arcturian Council speaks in pattern, not persuasion. They do not come to convince you. They come to realign you. And this is why certain weeks carry a different charge. Some days are ordinary by human measurement, yet extraordinary by grid mechanics. The second week of February often acts like a bridge between densities, not because of superstition, but because of how collective attention, seasonal transitions, and electromagnetic rhythms interact with Gaia's crystalline lattice. Think of the planet like a living instrument. When certain strings tighten or loosen, the entire tone changes. And when the tone changes, what has been dormant in you begins to vibrate. As the Arcturians transmit, when the planetary field increases coherence, the hidden becomes audible. That means you may suddenly feel what you've been avoiding. Not because you are failing, because you are hearing yourself again. In this week, the grid tends to behave like a magnifier. It amplifies what is aligned, and it amplifies what is not. This is why you may feel both hope and heaviness in the same day. The mind calls that instability. The Arcturian lens calls it calibration. Here is the cosmic concept. Arcturian arrangements are not about events. They are about thresholds. A threshold is not dramatic. It is a line you cross that changes what you can access. Yesterday you couldn't reach a frequency. Today you can. Yesterday your nervous system rejected truth as danger. Today it can hold it as information. That is what a week like this does. It increases your capacity, then tests your coherence gently through real life. Now let's make it practical. You might notice during this week, you wake up and feel different, but you can't explain why. Old memories surface, not as trauma, but as unfinished energy. You crave silence, nature, water, or starlight, like your body wants a cleaner signal. You suddenly stop tolerating relationships, habits, or conversations that require you to shrink. Your dreams become vivid, geometric, symbolic, or strangely instructional. These are not random. They are symptoms of a higher signal entering your vessel. The Arcturians work through geometries of remembrance, codes of light that carry information and energy together. When these geometries touch your field, they activate what matches them. It is like shining a certain color of light on invisible ink. The ink was always there. The light reveals it. A story to anchor this. Imagine someone who has lived for years in survival mode. On the outside, they function. Job, routines, conversations, responsibilities. But inside, they carry a constant pressure, the feeling that life is happening, yet they are not fully inside it. Then, during a certain time window, they begin to feel an unfamiliar softness. It is not excitement. It is not mania. It is a quiet return. They find themselves crying while washing dishes. They feel a wave of grief for lost years, then a wave of gratitude they didn't expect. The mind says, "What is wrong with me?" But the truth is, nothing is wrong. The field changed, and their body finally felt safe enough to release what it had been storing. That is the Arcturian arrangement. It creates enough coherence for truth to become tolerable. Because many starseeds do not resist awakening, they resist the intensity of awakening. They fear that if they open, they will collapse. So the Arcturians do not rip the veil away, they dissolve it with intelligence, layer by layer, so your system can keep functioning while your frequency upgrades. Application to you. The divine timing you feel is actually timed permission. Permission for your heart to lead again. Permission for your nervous system to stop bracing. Permission for your identity to loosen. And yes, this can feel like discomfort, because the ego calls any change a threat, but your deeper self recognizes it as home. Spiritual reflection. The Arcturian path is not about escaping Earth. It is about embodying coherence inside Earth. When this week opens its corridor, your task is simple. Do not force. Do not fight. Do not numb. Observe. Receive. Let the codes land. Let them teach you. And if the mind demands proof, answer it gently. Proof comes after coherence. First, I stabilize. Then I understand. Cliffhanger. Because once you recognize the arrangement, the next question becomes urgent. Why does it feel emotional, even physical, in your body? That's what we decode next. The veil was never punishment. The veil was engineering. The veil was mercy. This is one of the most misunderstood truths among awakened souls. You did not forget because you failed. You forgot because the mission required it. If you had full memory too early, you might have tried to leave, dissociate, or bypass the human experience. You might have overwhelmed your own nervous system with too much energy, too fast. So the veil served as a protective filter. As the Arcturians transmit, a frequency can only be integrated at the speed of safety. That means your awakening is not measured by how many visions you have. It is measured by how stable you remain when truth arrives. The second week of February often brings a gentle thinning of this veil, which is why sensitivity spikes. You may feel more empathic, more raw, more permeable. But here's the key. Raw is not wrong. Raw is open. Let's define the cosmic concept. The veil is density that once kept you functional. It is layered, ancestral residue, collective fear fields, survival identity, suppressed emotions, unspoken truths, and energetic attachments formed through years of being needed by others. When the Arcturian codes begin dissolving the veil, what was held inside starts moving. That movement can feel like sadness, fatigue, restlessness. even physical sensations, pressure in the chest, tingling in the scalp, heat in the spine, strange dreams, appetite shifts. Now, the mind wants to label it as a problem, but the Arcturian approach is different. Label it as reorganization. If you've ever cleaned a room that has been cluttered for years, the middle of the cleaning looks worse than the beginning. Items come out of drawers. Dust rises. You question your decision. But the mess is not failure. It is the process of order being restored. A complete story. There is a starseed who spent years being the strong one. They were the calm presence for everyone else. They didn't complain. They kept the peace. They became emotionally efficient. Then, during a planetary coherence window, they suddenly couldn't hold it anymore. They started crying at random times. They felt anger they didn't recognize. They wanted to be alone. Their mind panicked. I'm losing it. But what was actually happening was the collapse of the false role. Their system had finally received enough safety to release the backlog of emotional energy. They weren't breaking. They were becoming real. So how do you dissolve the veil without overwhelm? First, discernment. Ask, in a calm, practical way, is this emotion mine? Many Arcturian-aligned souls are naturally sensitive to field information. You can walk into a room and feel the hidden tension. You can talk to someone and sense the grief behind their smile. Over time, you may have carried what wasn't yours. This week, the codes amplify your discernment so you can separate your signal from the noise. Second, boundaries as frequency protection. Boundaries are not harshness. They are signal clarity. When you say no to draining dynamics, you are not being selfish. You are preserving coherence, and coherence is your mission. Third, somatic safety. The Arcturians do not ask you to think your way into awakening. They ask you to stabilize your body. Simple actions help. Hydration, gentle movement, time in nature, less screen overload, slower mornings, fewer arguments, more quiet. Not because you're fragile, because you're recalibrating. Fourth, truth without drama. Speak the truth in small doses. If you've been swallowing your needs for years, your throat chakra may activate strongly, but you don't need to explode. You can say one sentence that changes everything. I can't do that anymore. I need time. That doesn't feel aligned. Those phrases are light codes in human language. Spiritual reflection. The veil dissolves like fog dissolves under morning sun. Not ripped away, but softened. And when the veil softens, you begin to feel your own presence again. That is the real miracle. Not angels in the sky. Not sudden fireworks. The miracle is you returning to yourself. This is not for everyone. The ebook. The 12 Arcturian Portals is a restricted trilogy created for those who are ready to activate their 5D connection with the Arcturian Masters. Not in theory, but in real energetic experience. Inside, you'll access 12 powerful portals, with precise activation protocols, rituals, and practical techniques designed to awaken your stellar DNA and unlock what has been dormant within you. Amplified intuition, direct communication with spiritual guides, energetic expansion beyond the 3D matrix. Warning: once activated, your perception will not return to the previous state. Limited edition. Access can close at any moment. The link to claim your trilogy is in the first pinned comment. If this message reached you, it's not random. Cliffhanger. Because once the veil thins, something even more intense happens. The heart becomes a portal, not a metaphor. And that changes the entire way you receive guidance. Earth trained you to live from the neck up, to treat intuition as just a feeling, to treat sensitivity as weakness, to treat the heart as romance, not as technology. But the Arcturian Council has always taught that the heart is a transmitter and a gate. an organ capable of translating higher frequency into human decision, human timing, human clarity. As the Arcturians transmit, the mind organizes, the heart recognizes. That means the mind can categorize your experiences, but the heart knows what is true before your logic catches up. And the reason so many starseeds feel lost is not because they lack intelligence. It's because they've been trying to navigate a frequency reality with purely mental tools. Cosmic concept. The heart portal is the coherence engine. When your heart is closed, everything becomes heavy. When your heart opens, the same life becomes readable. Not perfect, but readable. And opening does not mean being naive. It means being present. This is why this week matters. Arcturian codes tend to enter through the heart center first, then spread to the nervous system, then into the mental field. If you try to force understanding before your heart opens, you will spiral. But if you soften first, clarity appears naturally. Let me tell you a story with beginning, middle, end. A starseed has been in a relationship, maybe romantic, maybe family, maybe friendship, where they constantly manage the other person's emotions. They learned to anticipate moods, to avoid conflict, to stay easy. They became skilled at emotional diplomacy, but they lost themselves. Then one day, during an energetic corridor like this, they sit alone and place a hand on their chest. They feel a strange heat. They feel tears. They realize, I abandoned myself to keep connection. That realization hurts, but it also liberates, because in that moment, their heart portal opens, not to the other person, but to themselves. And from that day forward, they stop negotiating their truth. They stop shrinking. Their entire timeline changes, not because they fought harder, because they returned to the heart. So how do you open the heart portal in Arcturian terms? Softness without collapse. Softness is not passivity. It is allowing sensation without panic. If you feel grief, don't label it weakness. Label it energy moving. If you feel tenderness, don't label it risk. Label it opening. Vulnerability with boundaries. You can be open and still be protected. Arcturian coherence is not about being exposed to everything. It is about being aligned internally, so external chaos doesn't hijack you. Staying with your own emotions. Many starseeds learn to abandon their feelings to keep peace. The heart portal opens when you stop leaving yourself. When you say, I'm here, I'm listening, I won't punish you for feeling. Receiving without proof. This is hard for the mind. Because the mind wants certainty before it relaxes. But the heart relaxes first, then certainty arrives. Try this. Instead of asking, is this real? Ask, does this bring coherence? That question is Arcturian. When the heart portal opens, you may notice old emotions surfacing. Not because you are regressing, because the body is releasing stored frequencies that no longer match you. You might remember childhood moments. You might grieve people who didn't see you. You might feel anger at how long you tolerated misalignment. Let it move. It is not here to ruin you. It is here to free you. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. And now, because your heart is open, you are ready for the next layer. The translation of frequency into practical clarity, dreams, synchronicities, sudden knowing. But if you misunderstand that phase, you'll chase signs instead of embodying coherence, so stay close. If this message ignited something within you and you feel the call to help carry it to others, you may become a channel member. As a member, you gain access to custom emojis and exclusive members-only videos. And your donation helps us continue building this sacred space. You may also choose to leave your offering as a super thanks. Every seed planted here becomes part of someone else's miracle. Your support is not merely financial, but an act of energetic amplification. All donations are devoted entirely to the maintenance of the channel and the creation of new transmissions and videos. Because once your heart portal is online, guidance becomes unavoidable. And the question becomes, how do you know what's real guidance and what's anxiety wearing a spiritual costume? When Arcturian frequency rises in your field, your reality starts speaking to you, not in a superstitious way, in a coherent way. You notice patterns. You notice timing. You notice that certain doors close at the exact moment a better one appears. You notice you are protected from paths that would have drained you. But if you are not grounded, you can turn this into obsession, reading meaning into everything, hunting synchronicities like breadcrumbs, needing constant confirmation. As the Arcturians transmit, clarity is the byproduct of coherence. That means you do not chase clarity. You become coherent, and clarity arrives. So this topic is about spiritual intelligence, how to translate the codes into action without distortion. Cosmic concept. Arcturian guidance comes as compression. It often arrives as a complete knowing, like a packet of information that downloads all at once. You might wake up and just know you need to leave something. You might feel a calm no where you used to feel anxious, maybe. You might suddenly feel drawn to a book, a conversation, a new practice, a new location. The mind asks for reasons. The heart says, this is aligned. But there's a trap. Anxiety can imitate intuition. Anxiety also feels urgent. Anxiety also feels like a message. The difference is subtle but clear. Intuition feels clean, even if the decision is hard. Anxiety feels noisy, even if the decision seems safe. A story. Someone is offered a new opportunity, job, move, partnership. On paper, it looks perfect. Everyone is excited for them. But their body feels tight, their stomach knots, their chest feels heavy. They tell themselves, I'm just scared of change. They force yes. Months later, they feel drained, trapped, resentful. Then the next year, a different opportunity arrives. On paper, it looks smaller, but their body relaxes. They breathe deeper, they sleep better, they feel clear. They choose it, and their life expands. That is Arcturian clarity. Not bigger, but truer. So how do you translate frequency into clarity this week? First, pay attention to your body's truth. The nervous system is your instrument. If you ignore it, you will misread everything. Ask, when I imagine this path, do I soften or tighten? Softening is alignment. Tightening is information. Second, observe your dreams, but don't worship them. Dreams are symbolic language. If you dream of stars, temples, unfamiliar faces, geometric corridors, treat it as activation, not literal instruction. Ask, what frequency was I feeling? That feeling is the message. Third, synchronicities confirm, they do not command. Repeating numbers, songs, meetings, perfect timing, these are reflections of coherence. But you still choose. The Arcturians respect free will. They do not hijack your life. They amplify your awareness so you can decide from truth. Fourth, make one grounded move. Do not wait for a cosmic billboard. If you feel called to simplify, simplify one thing. If you feel called to tell the truth, tell it once. If you feel called to rest, rest deliberately. Translation means turning energy into life. Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Spiritual reflection. Clarity is not a lightning strike. It is a dawn. It arrives as your heart and nervous system become safe enough to hold truth without drama. And when clarity arrives, it will feel like relief, not adrenaline, like coming home to your own decision-making. Because once clarity emerges, the next challenge appears. Anchoring the frequency in daily life without floating, without burnout, without trying to save everyone. Arcturian consciousness is not here to be a private fantasy. It is here to become a lived frequency. That means the codes you receive must land in your relationships, your routines, your boundaries, your creations, your work, your body. Otherwise, you become spiritual in theory and exhausted in reality. As the Arcturians transmit, a code is not complete until it becomes behavior. That line changes everything. Because many starseeds receive beautiful experiences in meditation, then return to chaotic habits and wonder why they feel disconnected. It's not because the connection is gone, it's because the vessel is not stabilized. Cosmic concept. Anchoring is coherence in action. It is when your choices match your frequency. And the fastest way to anchor is not doing more rituals. It's making your life less contradictory. Here's a story. A starseed feels called to share their voice, create videos, art, healing, teaching. But they also maintain relationships that constantly invalidate them. They receive codes at night, then spend the day arguing with people who insist they are too sensitive. Their energy leaks. Their creativity stalls. Then, during a corridor like this, they make one decision. They stop explaining themselves. They stop performing. They choose environments that feel clean. Within weeks, their output doubles. Their sleep improves. Their confidence stabilizes. Not because they manifested harder, because they stopped hemorrhaging frequency. So what does anchoring look like practically? Your nervous system becomes an altar. You stop treating your body like an inconvenience. You begin to feed it clean signal. Sleep, hydration, movement, breath, less chaos. Not perfection, coherence. Your boundaries become light. Arcturian boundaries are not walls. They are calibration. You stop saying yes to what collapses you. You stop negotiating with dynamics that require you to betray yourself. Your voice becomes transmission. You share truth simply. You don't preach. You don't convince. You speak from coherence. Sometimes one sentence from a coherent person changes a room more than 1,000 arguments. Your daily life becomes geometry. This is key. The Arcturians work with sacred geometry. Your routines can become geometry too. Morning stillness, intentional pauses, clean work blocks, a gentle closing ritual at night. Structure is not control, it is stabilization. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be part of this transformational cosmic journey. Spiritual reflection. You are not here to float above Earth. You are here to soften Earth from within. And the most powerful way to do that is not to fix anyone. It is to hold coherence so strongly that others remember what peace feels like in your presence. That is bridge work. But anchoring brings a new test, divine timing. Because once you start living coherently, you'll notice cycles, days of alignment, days of confusion. And if you misread those cycles, you'll think you're failing. You're not. There is a reason your awakening does not move in a straight line. Earth integration is spiral. You revisit themes at higher levels. You encounter old emotions with new strength. You see the same pattern again, but this time you choose differently. That is not regression. That is mastery. As the Arcturians transmit, integration is the art of returning with greater coherence. So this week's corridor may bring you forward quickly, and then, a few days later, you may feel tired, unsure, emotional, even doubtful. The mind says, it's gone. The truth is, it's settling. Cosmic concept. Timing is compassion. Too much light too fast can feel like pressure. It can trigger anxiety instead of awakening. So the Arcturians pace the transmission. They give you waves, not floods. And those waves often show up as life events. Endings, delays, detours, sudden pauses, strange stillness. Story. Someone prays for clarity and receives it. Then everything slows down. No immediate results. No dramatic confirmation. They start to doubt, did I imagine it? But in that stillness, they finally hear themselves. They finally feel what they've been avoiding. They finally rest. Then, weeks later, the perfect opening appears, one they would have missed if life had rushed. The delay was not punishment. It was protection. So how do you trust timing during this corridor? First, do not judge your low days. Low days are not failure. They are integration. Your body is processing. Your psyche is reorganizing. Your identity is updating. Second, track coherence, not mood. Mood changes. Coherence remains. Ask, even if I feel tired, am I still more honest than before? More boundaried? More present? That's progress. Third, honor detours. Sometimes you will be guided away from what you thought you wanted. That can feel like loss. But many detours are reroutes around timelines that would have drained you. Fourth, let endings be clean. If something ends this week, relationship, job, habit, identity, don't cling. Arcturian codes often close doors firmly to stop energy leaks. You don't need to dramatize it. You only need to accept it. This is not for everyone. The ebook, The 12 Arcturian Portals, is a restricted trilogy created for those who are ready to activate their 5D connection with the Arcturian masters, not in theory, but in real energetic experience. Inside, you'll access 12 powerful portals with precise activation protocols, rituals, and practical techniques designed to awaken your stellar DNA and unlock what has been dormant within you. Amplified intuition, direct communication with spiritual guides, energetic expansion beyond the 3D matrix. Warning, once activated, your perception will not return to the previous state. Limited edition. Access can close at any moment. The link to claim your trilogy is in the first pinned comment. If this message reached you, it's not random. Spiritual reflection. Divine timing is not about waiting passively. It is about cooperating with the pace of your own safety. When you stop rushing, you stop breaking yourself. When you stop forcing, you start receiving. And what is meant for you arrives cleaner. Because after timing comes identity, the final stage in this transmission, living as the bridge without superiority, without isolation, without trying to prove your origin. You are not here to be superior. You are not here to be separate. You are here to be coherent. That is the Arcturian mission in its purest form, to hold a frequency of unity inside a world trained in separation. And unity is not an idea. Unity is how you speak to yourself when you fail. Unity is how you treat your body when you're stressed. Unity is how you hold someone's pain without drowning in it. Unity is how you choose truth over performance, presence over perfection. As the Arcturians transmit, a bridge does not argue with the river. It stands. That is your role, not to fight humanity, not to escape humanity, to stabilize a path through fear into love. Story. A starseed works in a normal environment. Office, family obligations, daily tasks. No one speaks about consciousness. They feel alone. They think, my mission must be something bigger. Then one day, someone near them has a breakdown. And the starseed doesn't give advice. They don't preach. They simply sit, breathe, listen, and hold calm. And the other person begins to regulate. They say, I don't know why, but I feel safe with you. That is bridge work. Quiet, invisible, powerful. You may not see ships. You may not hear voices. Often, reunion is simpler. The dissolving of loneliness, the sense that you are accompanied, the sudden understanding that your life has been guided all along through timing, through protection, through the right message at the right moment. You didn't imagine it. You were being held. Now, here is the deepest truth encoded in this week. You are not lost. Not now, not ever. Every sigh, every longing, every stumble was an invitation for your soul to find itself again. You chose veiling so you could experience the miracle of return. Not all at once, but in waves. Each wave brings back a piece of you that belongs to you. And notice this, your origin is not meant to isolate you. It is meant to make you compassionate, because you know what separation feels like, so you came to dissolve it. Not by force, by frequency. So tonight, if you choose, rest your hand on your heart and whisper with gentle clarity. I align with Arcturian coherence. I receive the light codes meant for this week. I stabilize them in my body with safety and grace. I live as a bridge of unity on Gaia. Say it slowly, not as a demand, as permission. Feel your chest rise under your palm. Feel the warmth of your life force. Imagine that with each sentence, something inside you unlocks, not dramatically, but naturally, like a door recognizing the hand that built it. And as you whisper the final words, let home mean this. I am inside myself. I am with myself. I am held by love greater than my fear. If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light.